If you're a first-generation artist or creative entrepreneur, and you just happen to be BIPOC or a woman or neurodivergent, yes, systemic resistance and injustice will affect your manifestations and generational trauma, but not in the way that you think. Let's talk about it. Before we get into it, I'm cleansing the space with Luz, and she will enchant our conversation with cosmic celestial energy. When I first read books like The Alchemist or Becoming Supernatural, The Secret, The Artist's Way, The Magic Path of Intuition, The Four Agreements, stuff like that, okay? They really did broaden my perspective, but I did feel like they were missing something. I didn't feel completely included in the narrative of just raise your frequency, think positive, because the mechanics behind rewiring your subconscious is a whole different level of work for people like us. Basically, these books weren't exactly written from the perspective of people carrying the weight of having to work through generational trauma or navigating systemic injustice while trying to manifest a life beyond survival. But hear me when I say this. Politics, racism, sexism, discrimination, injustice, those things are earthly, those things are man-made. They are not more powerful than the universe, but the imprint that they leave on our minds, on our subconscious, on the way we view the world, on the way we view ourselves, on our core beliefs about what's possible, what is and what isn't, that is what is powerful. And that is what's in our control, and that is what controls our manifestations in our lives. Those shape our manifestations. Centuries of scarcity, centuries of trauma, centuries of abuse, centuries of survival mode written into your DNA. This isn't even woo-woo. This is scientific. Look up epigenetics. It's like the scientific explanation of generational trauma. We are inheriting fears, centuries of them, and being the first to end those cycle of letting those fears rule your external, rule your physical world, rule your beliefs. Being the first to bridge that gap is a big task, and it's not an equal task across everyone on this earth. So let's break it down. How generational trauma is affecting our manifestations. Let's look at how it's affecting our minds, our subconscious core beliefs. These things rule our subconscious core beliefs, and we need to remove them. So inherited scarcity mindset, not having enough, constantly feel like you don't have enough, counting pennies, holding on to money like it's oxygen. Money is hard to make, money is hard to come by, there's never enough money. You say I'm broke like it's a personality trait, you say that's too expensive all the time. Just the language you have about money, think about it. And your words are spelled, so be careful what you're saying. I'm not saying that these aren't very real issues, but these real issues are physical, but they live in your mind and they have no place there. You can't bring yourself to invest in joy because it doesn't feel like a necessity. You have issues parting with large amounts of money. I'm speaking from experience, not from judgment, okay? I'm speaking with love, okay? I'm speaking about things that I still do, okay, and still am growing out of, okay? Now that's just the tip of the iceberg, but you get the point. And then there's inherited survival mode, always bracing for something to go wrong. Chronic stress, chronic pessimism. Your dreams feel too good to be true. You're always rushing. You feel like there's not enough time. You distrust ease. Ease is not familiar to many of our lineages. So what does this mean? Your dream life feels unfamiliar. By your dream life, I mean making passive income, having the money that you need to relax, not having to constantly worry about money, having the resources that you need to take care of yourself, to take care of your family, not having a million responsibilities on just you, having the actual village and community you need, having the actual support that you need. Our lineages are used to working with a lack of resources, a lack of support, a lack of money, okay? But stress, instability, that has been familiar to us for centuries. So that's what feels like home. So unconsciously, because of your subconscious beliefs, you are going to choose things that keep you there. As I said before, you're not just facing your own fears, you're inheriting centuries of them. Part of our brain is primal. Okay, it does not care about what's keeping us happy. Okay, it does not care about what's going to make you money. what's going to grow you. It cares about what's going to keep you safe, what's going to keep you alive. What does it know has kept you safe and kept you alive? The coping mechanisms we have inherited for centuries, okay? Things that are familiar. It cannot predict what is going to happen once you step out of the familiar, once you start embracing ease, okay? Once you start believing that your dreams can be true. It's never operated in that realm. It feels unfamiliar. It can't predict the outcome, so that's not safe. It's not going to bring you there. Now, let's talk about how internalized oppression and systemic injustice affects manifestations. This runs deep. I can make a whole video on this, okay? This is just a brief introduction to open your eyes. I'll probably make a couple videos really diving deep into the ways that I have reprogrammed my subconscious core beliefs, okay? But anyways, discrimination is a form of trauma. It's a collective and reoccurring trauma. So the question is, how do you reprogram your subconscious? How do you not let these internalized injustices affect how you feel about yourself, what you believe, when it's still happening on a daily basis? Other demographics don't have to deal with this. You know, they go through something traumatic, they heal from it, and then it's done. We're constantly being traumatized. The program is constantly being pushed against us. The agenda is constantly being pushed. Okay, resistance is constantly there. I'm not saying it's impossible. It is hard work, but we can do it. Our ancestors have been overcoming things that they were never supposed to survive for centuries. We got this in the bag. But this collective trauma is carved into our subconscious. So your core subconscious beliefs, rule majority of your manifestations and what your physical looks like right now. Doubts about your beauty, doubts about your features and how you look, your worthiness and love, how desirable you are, okay? What kind of life you're allowed to live, what kind of life is possible for you. Think about it. Think about all the things we see in the movies. What does the love interest always look like? What does she always look like? Or what does he always look like? You know, when you're scrolling on TikTok, what kind of problematic statements are you scrolling across on a daily, okay? Or pop stars or whatever, or singers or writers doing the things you want to do. What do they usually look like? You know what I'm saying? Like, the lack of representation is so important, because if you can't see yourself in that role, what role are you always seeing yourself in on TV or on media? The villain? The homeless person on the side of the street? I'm just saying. Think about it. Think about what you're consuming. And this has been for years. So these little things we aren't even thinking about, okay? Things we see on that magazine or that billboard we walk by, everything we're internalizing from the second we come out the womb. And even before that, centuries before that. But we live in the system on this earth, right? But this system doesn't need to live in us, okay? So we live in a political world. Politics have no place in us. Does that make sense? I feel like there's an essay about this. I can't remember who it's by though. But think about it, like, for example, in my community, Black people, we still are using light skin, dark skin, you know, identifying with those labels that literally came from the plantation. Hello? Guys, we don't need, like, we can let go. We can actually choose to let go. Like, it's actually not that deep. Anyways, I have a whole YouTube video called How to Silence the Old White Dude Who Lives in Your Head that talks about how to remove that voice rooted in colonialism, racism, sexism, all of that man-made stuff, because those are the people who have created the system, who run the programming that is impacting, imprinting on your subconscious beliefs. How to remove his voice from your mind. Turn his mic off. This is your mind. Our mind is ours. Your subconscious is yours. And it's malleable. Like, there's science to back this stuff up too. Look up neuroplasticity, but your neuroplasticity reduces as you get older. So start now. So what this looks like for manifestations, for when it comes to pursuing your purpose, is self-sabotage. This may come out in forms of self-sabotage that look like things you might not recognize as self-sabotage. For example, fear, doubt, imposter syndrome, waiting on the perfect conditions, waiting until you feel ready enough, waiting until you feel like you have enough money, waiting until you feel like you have enough followers, over-researching, over-editing, overthinking, thinking yourself out of doing something, finding every reason in the book not to do it, comparing your beginning to someone else's middle or someone else's end result, comparing yourself to others. It's all an illusion. None of it has any validity. Not even the comparison. You say they have more, you have less. I have a video on that too. None of it has any validity. Believe me when I say that. They're all self-sabotages, excuses to keep you from taking that next step. They have no validity. Here's the real truth. You're already qualified enough. You're already ready enough. You already have value to offer. So, what do we do with all this information? How do we rewrite these limiting beliefs? Repetition. The subconscious mind loves repetition. And that's why it takes time for our manifestations to come in. Because think about these neural pathways, these beliefs that you have built about yourself, your life, what you're capable of for years, and then you're trying to reverse them deep on a deep subconscious level. So your subconscious needs proof. You need time to build up proof, to go against those fears, to face those fears, and to get proof that they have no validity. And you need time to rewire, break down those old neural pathways, build new ones. Okay, that is what takes time. Being selective with what you consume, limiting your consumption, filtering your consumption, lowering your screen time. Okay, it relieves that damn phone, creating exposure therapy, taking aligned action before you're ready. The list goes on and on and on. And it really varies from person to person depending on what they need, what resonates with them, what they need to heal, what works for them, all of that. Really what you need to do is get familiar with what's going on in your mind. What are your core subconscious beliefs? Stop numbing with your phone. Stop running, chasing the next dopamine hit, chasing the next distraction, the next relationship. Like, sit down for a second. Stop running from your dreams, from your purpose that is calling you, and you're too scared to face it because you deep down feel like you're not capable, ready enough, talented enough, beautiful enough to succeed in the realm that you really want to do. But what's the alternative? Because what they're presenting to us, working and then recovering from work for the next 40 years, ain't it. And you know that. So that idea you have in the back of your brain to start the business, post a video, start the channel, whatever it is, that's your escape plan, that's your way out. But our ancestors did not have even the opportunity. They didn't even have the same autonomy that we have to even think of this as an option, to think that they could make their own money, to think that they could even be an entrepreneur, that they could even pursue the dreams that they wanted. They didn't have the option in the way that we have, so that is why it's our responsibility to do so. I'm not saying that racism is going to disappear or oppression is going to disappear, or that you'll never experience it. I'm saying you can neutralize the power that it has over your life. It doesn't get to run your life. The only power that it has over your money, your self-worth, your joy, your abundance, your beliefs, your relationships, is how much power it has over your subconscious core beliefs. So you really need to look in the mirror, look in here and examine how that's affecting you. You believe that you're beautiful. You say, I'm beautiful on a conscious level. But deep down, what do you believe? Are you still straightening your hair every day? Do you feel like you can't leave the house without wearing makeup? How is it affecting your actions? What are your actions? Forget what your conscious thoughts are telling the universe. What are your actions telling the universe? If you are like, oh, I think I could be a content creator, but you haven't posted yet, you still are letting your fear of being perceived stop you from posting. Stop letting fear stop you from doing things, because the people who created the roots of those fears, those aren't your fears, okay? They don't belong to you. So stop holding on to them for dear life. God dang. So what also helps is mindset shifts, zooming out a little bit. We get so zoomed into our problems, thinking that our problems are the entirety of what we can experience. There is a whole expansive universe outside of our little human problems, okay? And you can tap into those realms, okay? And those realms of possibility. Nothing is fixed. Whatever your life looks like right now, a year from today, it could be totally flipped on its head. So zoom out. Money is paper. Politics are man-made. Politics have no place in here. Just give it a chance. So if you're interested in this, I wrote an ebook. It's called Artist Alchemy. It's specifically for us first generation and BIPOC creative entrepreneurs and artists, okay? Because we have a specific path we're walking. So it breaks down all of these specific blockages: comparison, doubt, fear, trauma, personal trauma, okay? Shadow work, shame wounds, all of the things we deal with on a deeper ancestral level. And it teaches you how to heal from them. It provides the mindset shifts that you need to break the illusion, as well as ways you can use your own creative practice, your own artwork as healing, as shadow work, and as ways to rewrite new subconscious beliefs, to reprogram your mind into beliefs that actually serve you, okay? Who are your beliefs serving? Who are your actions serving? Are you still a slave to the white man, years, centuries after slavery has been abolished? I said what I said. Okay, that ebook has everything in it. I break everything down. I share some of my personal experiences written by someone who has had to work through systemic resistance, has had to work through personal and generational trauma, and still has been able to create miracles from scratch. Okay, so That book is there to help. It dives into everything if you want to go deeper into this. My ebook has a free guide if you're interested, if you need to dissolve the illusion from comparison. If comparison is a big issue you deal with, I used to deal with it all the time. I used to feel inferior. I used to scroll on Instagram, on TikTok, and just feel inferior and unmotivated to try anything because I would feel like I would never get there. It's all an illusion, okay? And so if that's something you struggle with, I have a free guide. It's an excerpt from my ebook, and it's helps you break that illusion immediately because it's not even real. Comment a little spiral below and I'll get you started with my free guide to my ebook if you're interested. And comment a little spiral below if you're ready to start reclaiming your magic, if you're ready for that map to how to reclaim your mind, to reclaim your beliefs, to reclaim your whole life. Take that away from the system, okay? Break out of the matrix, if you will. That is the end of today's video. I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned something. I hope you feel inspired. I hope you feel motivated, okay? I hope it lit a fire inside you, and I hope it awakened something in you, okay? Start today. I'm going to be making videos going deeper into this topic, into really the ways you can dissolve these limiting beliefs, reprogram your subconscious, and I'm telling you, it's life-changing. It's been 6 months since I really committed to this work, and already my life is flipped. In 6 months, you can do this. I'm here for you. That's all from your favorite fairy god friend.